take away from here today, if you really want to age well, in Nigeria of today, not waiting for the government, not worried about the healthcare infrastructure, you just want to age well. You want to have good physical health, mental health, emotional well-being, maintain your social connections, even the financial, because people who exercise regularly, they tend to actually be more financially stable because they've got the strength to be able to go out there and do things. Exercise on its own, it increases your strength, your vitality, your flexibility. So here, I'm sure you see lots of people with fractured neck or femurs. So if you come in, when you see people, I have patients in their 80s and 90s who exercise regularly. The difference is clear. They don't have dementia, they tend to be able to just manage themselves better. They just do well, they just do better. And there's actually statistics and research to prove it. If you participate in 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, that's just brisk walking every day, you're good. But if you can do it 3 times a week, this is what you have. A 30% reduced risk of having chronic diseases, including cancer. So not just heart disease and diabetes, 30% reduced risk. This is scientific, there's scientific evidence for this. A 35% reduced risk of developing dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, vascular dementia. A 40% reduced risk of developing mobility issues. A 50% reduced risk of falls. And the likelihood is, if you do fall and you do have a fracture and do end up here, you will probably recover from that and be able to go home and maintain your independence. So exercise is key. So for me, for me, exercise and financial for me actually, because I think that's also very important. But exercise is key. So if there's one thing you're going to take away from here today, if you are not doing it already, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, moderate intensity exercise. You don't have to do anything. For the men, please form a football club, the National Orthopedic Hospital Football Club. That will also help you to maintain your social connections. So you have your football club, you are hitting the ball. It doesn't, and there's no can't do anybody here. You just manage yourselves, but you'll be running around, and it will be very super beneficial for you. I could actually stop the talk there, because for me, exercise is key. But I have to move on to other things, diet and nutrition. We all know what you're supposed to do with your diet, isn't it? I mean, the first thing is eat in moderation. Don't eat too much. Don't put on weight. Don't say, life is hard. Get home and you're stuffing yourselves with all the, EBA and all of that. You want to eat in moderation so that you maintain a good weight. You want to cut out sugar. And every time I talk about cutting out sugar, people are like, oh, that's hard. I grew up with the sugar. I'm a sugar baby, When I was growing up, my grandma, she'll give me gari with sugar. They'll even put milk. Gari, sugar, milk, So we grew up with that. You have bread, they'll put butter, they'll put jam, So we grew up with sugar. In your tea, you put sugar. Coffee, sugar. Bournvita, you put sugar. Sugar is the #1 aging agent in the world. Cut it out. It just causes a lot of, first of all, inflammation, in the systems. It just predisposes to things like diabetes, obesity. So cut it out. I put up intermittent fasting there. I'm a very strong advocate of that, because intermittent fasting is proven to improve your chances of living to a good old age. So if you're able to, and maybe that's why we have, look at our wonderful medical director. He's looking, I'm sure, the fasting, Ramadan, Christian fasting, it all helps really, Being able to abstain from food for a period of time during the day, it helps your body to recover, to gain back its strength. The body clears out lots of toxins in that time. And people who practice intermittent fasting live longer and age better. A bit of OCD. OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. My grandma had a bit of OCD. My grandma was a trader. She actually had shops in Baggy Market in Ibadan. And she sold, but my grandma was OCD. When I was a medical student, whenever I went to visit my grandma in the shop, I had to take my Sphig because I'd get there and she needed to know what her blood pressure was. She needed to know her blood pressure. So despite being, she was just a businesswoman in the market, but she was so OCD. And whenever she told me, Toyin, my blood pressure is high, I know it, I can feel it. And then she was judicious with her medication and everything. She lived to 95. And she was mentally sound. I mean, she was really on top of her game. She stopped going to her shop at 94. But she had a bit of OCD, and she didn't really joke around. People with OCD, they actually statistically live longer than others. They're the ones who will wash their hands, they're the ones who will take their medication. There's a method to that madness, They're the ones who will go for their health check. They're the ones who, even when we're doing for the underprivileged elderly, we know the OCD ones. Because when you get there, they want to make sure their blood pressure is done. They want to make sure their blood sugar. What about this one you said last time? Those things. They pay attention to detail. So a little bit of OCD is good for you. It will help you to age well and live longer. Financial. I have a saying. It is okay to be young and broke. It is not okay to be old and broke. Old and broke is suffering. Because when you're old and you're broke, you have to depend on your daughter, your son, the well-wishers to help you with your healthcare. If you have your money, you do whatever you like. You get the best doctors, you go wherever you want. Lots of people in Lagos Island, those mamas are wealthy. They're not waiting for any child to come and tell them, you can't see this doctor because it's too expensive. No, they want to see that doctor because that's the one they can afford it. That's where you need to be in your old age. You don't want to be waiting for any child. I have seen it. I practice in Nigeria. The children have got children that they're looking after, and they've got other things to do. And statistically, this is statistics now. This is a scientific conference. 70% of individuals who are financially stable, they experience successful aging. They age well. They're able to look after themselves. They're able to live in a good place. They're able to, practice self-care and eat the right foods. So it's very important, financial planning. So for those who raise their hands up, all of you in your 30s, start planning now. This is not the time to be buying wigs, shoes, and bags. This is the time to be planning for your future, out there buying properties and sorting yourselves out. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was... So really, at the end of the day, that is it. I hope I've given you a good recipe. So that is your recipe. So despite any hardship in Nigeria, that is what you need to do. Exercise, physical activity. Let me go back to that slide. Your diet and nutrition, cut out sugar, intermittent fasting, don't eat too much, but eat the right foods, your vegetables, your fruits, etc. Keep yourselves hydrated. Have a little bit of OCD because, like I said, there's a method to that madness and it does work. Financial planning, and you need to start as soon as possible. As soon as you get your job, so you're all here, as soon as you get your jobs, you need to start planning for later life. Oh, I didn't maintain social connections. So that is very important because social connections, people who maintain social connections, they tend to thrive in old age, So sometimes I go to see one of my patients, I go to see them at home, and the place is just full of all sorts of, well-wishers, people. They do well, having all that contact with people is good for your emotional well-being, it's good for your mental health, and the mental health and emotional being pillars for aging well. So on that note, I'm going to move on to, this is just a bit of information for you, the Healthier Aging Conference. I have to touch on it. And the reason why we started the Healthier Aging Conference, we started it in 2019 as a platform for educating the younger to middle age group about aging well. And every year we have a panel of experts who come and they sit down and we talk about physical health, mental health, financial health, and then whatever is topical. The first one was very, very well attended, very well received. It was a physical conference in Victoria Island. The second one was online. It was during the pandemic, and you know, it's excellent. We get very excellent reviews. 2021 was exactly the same, and we've got the next one coming up in November this year. So if you want to live to 100, you want to know what to do beyond what I have said, because what I task the panels to come forward with innovative ideas, you know, just give us research-based evidence on what is happening, and we get fantastic experts. So on that note, this is just about our Adopt a Grant program. You know, I'm sure some of you might want to participate. It's always good to give back. A few photos from our Adopt a Grant program. Some of my travels. That's me in Antarctica with penguins behind me and holding the Nigerian flag. I was very proud. Yes, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for listening.